Welcome everyone to the Dashing Podcast. The podcast about accessibility, universal design, architecture, and education. So today I'm pleased to be joined by Kurby, the president and CEO of the Calgary Telus Convention Center. So thank you, Kurby, for joining me today.
Well, Nabil, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You've had a long career in terms of hospitality, and you've seen cities from all kinds of perspectives and from when you travel. So how have these experiences shaped how you be a space like this, and how do you welcome people from all over the world?
Great question, Nabil. Over 3 decades I've spent in the hospitality and tourism sector. And the one thing that I love the most is the human factors. I love watching people. I love watching the behaviors of people. Sometimes it's the game of inches. Sometimes it's a park bench inappropriately placed that causes something to happen, or communication. But it is interesting, since working with you, I look at things very differently now when I travel. I just came back from a tour in Eastern Canada with my family and went to a museum. And I'm watching now counters, I'm watching ramps, I'm watching how do you see things, how do you interface with this exhibit. If I was bound to a wheelchair, if I had a limitation of accessibility or be able to walk or do the stairs or not, where's the elevator? And also, it was nice to know that nobody has this app. I shouldn't say nice to know. It needs to get out there, but it was nice to know that I have this app in my house, and that it is accessible and it is easy to show how that would actually happen. But I think what stands out for me the most is everyone has a story they don't read out loud. It is quite obvious, Nabil, that you're in a wheelchair, but there's a lot of folks who have disabilities or needs that are unseen. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing right now is the unseen factors. And what I really enjoy though is now when I'm going out to experience things, or even we're in our own facility, what are we doing for that demographic in society? Those are very important aspects of our society.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your leadership, everything you spoke, and how, and I guess when you think about the Calgary Telus Convention Center, what goes into making that first impression when you're welcoming people from all over the world? Like, what do you focus on of all the things that you mentioned? What do you think strikes people the most?
I think it's our people. I think it's the I keep going back to the human factors, but in a convention center, we're in the business of contact sport. We're eyeballs to eyeballs. We're not over a Zoom call. Our space is generated for collisions of conversations that may never have happened until everyone came into the room. But what I like the most is our people and how our people greet people. Welcome to our living room. Welcome to our house. Treat our guests like you would treat them in your own home. And you can't go wrong. Be aware of the needs, be aware of the desires, the objectives of people, but also be alert that the organizer may not know that a wheelchair has just shown up, or somebody that may have a visual impairment. They weren't anticipating coming. And are you ready for that? What happens when that happens? What happens to the convener? What happens to the people who are using the space? Like, we're the vessel for conversations. We don't get to control how everything is programmed. But our job sometimes is to get those planners to actually understand what does an accessible function look like.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have spoken on a few panels together, and it was pretty interesting. One of our experiences was kind of sticky over in that night, but it wasn't by design, but it opened up a different appreciation of what open to create an essence for you then.
Yeah.
So I know that you talked earlier about when you about some of the things that you think about when it comes to accessibility. But do you think it's about infrastructure? Do you think it's about culture? Is it something else? As a leader of the CTCC, how do you think about it?
We are big when we say all persons. People talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, label, but let's just understand a venue for all persons with all needs. And we're 19 languages spoken on our team. Over 43 or 45% of our staff identified in a marginalized community of some sort. So when we talk about all persons, we live it every day. So this isn't new to us. It's enhanced. It's an enhancement to our organization. And then when you layer in an app like Pedestal and in your knowledge, now when we build things, when we buy things, how is this inclusive? How is this accessible? How does this add? How does it continue to tell a story to educate as opposed to just tick a box? Because we don't tick boxes here. That's not what we do.
And from our journey together, has there been one particular story that sticks out?
Since you and I have been working together?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many. I love it. I love it when you pedest on into my office and you say, "How's it going?" with the biggest smile, and I'm about to eat some humble pie, and you have that big gigantic smile. You experienced something today on your journey that you can't wait to tell me about. And I think one of the most favorite ones for me was coming out of COVID. We had the hand sanitizers all over the place, and outside of that panel we were on, there was a really sticky moments on the panel when the event planner, student planner did not think about your experience in the plan. So that was really sticky. That's up there with one of my favorite opportunities for you to school people in a healthy way, but make it sticky so they never forget. And with your beautiful smile every time you do that too. So, but my other favorite one, since we've interacted outside of exploring the app, what it can do for organization, was post-COVID. We had our hand sanitizers all over the building, and you're coming to meet with me, and you're 10 minutes late. And actually asked me, is he coming? Like, that's unusual for you to be late. And you finally pedest in, you come into my office, like a great smile, and you're, "Kurby, I'm really sorry I'm late. But I have to tell you, remember I told you about the hand sanitizers? You need to bolt those things down because someone moved it in front of the call box for the elevator. And I couldn't reach it. So perhaps you could work with your team as you're smiling the entire time saying, wasn't me, it was you. Perhaps you could look at a better deployment of the hand sanitizers that doesn't impede accessibility. And from that moment on, you and I have had such a unique relationship with radical transparency and honesty with each other. And I think that's probably what I cherish the most about this, Nabil, is that I get to see things through your eyes, even go to a hockey game with you and to watch what happens from your lens and others like you to go to a hockey game. I've never done that before. I've never seen it through your lens. Or to take you for lunch and to watch how wait staff treat you. Mind-blowing for me. Absolutely mind-blowing. And so there's so much for us to learn. And I really, really hope that can be the vessel of conversation and storytelling that starts to open doors and eyes and ears to what that can be for the future.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying some memorable stories and it will stick out for me too, but many others. And so I kind of wanted to focus on the CTCC venue. So, you see events of all sizes, from international conferences to Comic-Con, on the small scale. So with so many different companies coming through, what I could learn from people that come to the building, beside them with their experiences, I share with you, haven't you learned anything, to the multiple events?
So I think, Nabil, the neatest opportunity for us is to continue to tell stories. The Pedesting app allows us to do that when we tell them about Pedesting and demonstrate to them what the app actually does in our venue. So I think that's one. It allows that introductory conversation to occur in storytelling. Secondly, there's an opportunity for us to challenge the event planner on event accessibility. And what I love about that is you're a phone call away. And you'd be more than willing to work with them, partner with them on ensuring their event is an accessible event. And what does that truly mean to be accessible? And every time we can tell that story, it's that ripple effect. And I always use the analogy of the ripple on the water. We can see the ripple, but we never see it slap the shore, because that conversation continues on, the ripple effect continues on. So whether we've improved an event that's coming here internationally that didn't know, or sometimes they do know, but most times they don't know what it truly means to be accessible event. And then we educate, we tell a story, we actually do the proper introductions with subject matter experts. We don't see that ripple effect of what's happened for the next 4 conventions for that planner. Did they implement that down the road? We don't get to see that, but we know we plan to see it. And it goes from there. And I would say that pedestrian allows us to have that conversation. It's not just even for those who have a disability or ambulatory disabilities. It could be those who are temporary disabled, i.e. they got the broken leg and they're on those scooter things. To actually stop, rather than you going through a whole venue, you have a pedestrian app. It allows us to have another conversation. It's like, oh my God, this life's there. And so it's those stories, but also for us to educate the common citizen that may not fully understand what it's like to have to be accessible, to be accommodated. A lot of them don't really understand.
No, and I think you have one word about being ignorant. It was not knowing. And so I can, my interactions, I thought that express, it comes from a place of empathy, patience, not getting frustrated, and helping on that drinking and helping them understand about what accessibility is and that also.
Well, I keep telling people, no one really understands the decisions that I have made before I have come to the office that are automatic, that I never have to stop and think about, are 90% of the time, every single step you have to think about. And that's the part that really humbled me through this whole journey, is that I get into a car, I can park at any lot, I can walk in any door, I can use any washroom. You don't have that ability. And so when you say you're an accessible venue, stop and think about your journey before you got here. And what is your journey when you arrive? And how comfortable are you arriving? What are the challenges you faced in winter trying to get here? A snowbank on a sidewalk that everyone takes for granted that they can step over. You can't. Yeah. And so when our guys are clearing snow, that ramp on the sidewalk is the most important snow clearing area than the rest of the walk. And up to this point of our relationship, no one really ever really paid that close attention to it. Or the sandbag laying on a sidewalk. Oh, they'll come and collect it. No, get it out of the way, because the guy in the wheelchair coming by can't do that. Or the ramp, or the amount of different substreets that are on 8th Avenue, which, by the way, is correct in the near future. But no one stops to think about that journey, what that actually takes. And again, truly humbled every time. I learn so much from you every time I'm with you. But again, it's the stories that our folks can continue to tell, but also the lived experiences. It's not some fictional story out there. But why is it important for pedestrian, for our guests to understand what pedestrian is and what it does?
Thank you. And I kind of wonder that way. I love it. Would you support pedestrian from the very beginning of anyone before we opened for the came on the outstuff? So what was it that made you believe in what we were doing and why you thought accessibility was important?
It's interesting to be able to, when I say I'm humble, I'm truly humble. And that's what got me interested in this. Because we take things for granted every day. And a person like you comes in and talks to me about accessibility and talks about an app that you developed, who needs it every day. That's a different discussion than a different startup coming in and pitching me with perfectly good ambulatory skills and talking to me about, hey, I got this app for wheelchairs. Have you ever sat in one? Do you know what it means to be in one? Well, no, it'll be a good moneymaker for us. Well, I appreciate that, but that's not the purpose of this. That's a revenue generation. You were trying to change culture. You were trying to change a city. You're trying to change an industry. That's a different discussion. When people get to know you and understand you, the pedestrian app is just the tip of the iceberg of what they can learn. And you have been spectacular in this space and a huge, huge champion for disabilities. But more importantly, this app has enabled people. You're an enabler. And that's what our venue likes to get behind, those people who enable.
Think like that name belongs to me because I've always seen, and I've never been about the technology or all that. I thought about freestanding courses. And so,
But if you don't mind, Emil, I'd like to add on, when you came with the app, you also came with an architect. It wasn't just some guy rolling in and saying, hey, I got this app for wheelchairs. No, you actually had an architect beside you to say, and by the way, this is designed against your actual plot plan of your building. This isn't just somebody taking a crayon and going through a road. No, it's very technical and very accurate. And it needs to be accurate. But most importantly, your name's on it. You're the founder of this thing. So it has to be right. And that's the other part I really admire about you, is the fact that you wanted it to be right.
yeah.
And the level of care put into that, second to none.
No, I think you've been fun because, I opened to get ready. I said before it has to be right because you want people to be confident and exploiting the talent if they can. So, that's come away. It's so critical where my partner, the architect, he always felt like he was designing buildings for decades, not realizing some of the decisions he was making were bringing people apart, not together.
Right.
Very similar to what you said earlier. So, I kind of about building community. So, I want to kind of build on how CCC about the heart of the city of Calgary. And you spoke about how it will important be a place that will build connection. But what do you think your role can be like? What do you think the role that you play helps fit that culture or fit like Calgary?
Well, I think, in leadership, it was cloned by, it was the Kuzas and Posners, the founders of leadership way back in the day, where their second or third step, I can't remember which one, it says model the way. That's just not a slogan, that's a lifestyle. Model the way. And so if we can model the way, as I always tell all of my staff, do what you do and do it well, and the rest will follow. Don't worry about the news. Don't worry about others. Do what you do and do it well. But with our convention center, we're the most connected convention center in Canada. So when we talked about connectivity, it's not just a catchphrase, it's a fact. We're connected to 1,200 hotel rooms, to a world-class museum once the renovation is completed, free for communities. You want to talk about accessibility? It's accessible financially as well. Arts Commons when it's completed, the connectivity to that, arts that are accessible. When we talk about Stephen Avenue, rejuvenation of Stephen Avenue, it will be accessible moving forward. So when we talk about the connectivity, we really mean it. We are connected, but we connect to so many different industries, different stakeholders, or people of interest, groups of interest, partnerships such as pedestrian, that can have a ripple effect within the community. So I offer you this. You are now in, I forget how many buildings in the city.
Right now, I'm 24.
24 buildings in the city of Calgary. When I met you, 2, and a third was in discussion. And that's less than a year.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But it starts with a story, sort of like the old Head and Shoulders commercial. You tell it to friends and so on and so on. But I think the biggest thing is the model the way. And actually, when people come to you and say, what about this pedestrian? You have got to get this. It is the greatest storytelling. It is the greatest form of introduction to someone. When I see somebody that is on crutches or on those little scooters, let alone the obvious signs of disability, but when they show up, it's an opportunity for us to engage. They're welcome to the convention center. Did you know there's what are you talking about? There's a number of buildings that are on this as well. So we could actually help you as you test across the city. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And so it's another engagement tool for us. So it's not just a logo on the door, a box being checked. It's stories, it's connectivity, it's the human connection. It allows us to continue to be more human. And that's what our secret sauce is at our center. Don't tell anybody. Is our first year. Is the secret sauce is our humanity, our empathy, being human first. We're in the business of contact sports with humans, not AI, not a robot. We're in contact with humans. And so we need to remember that humanity while we're doing.
No, but that's so powerful because I think I kind of am very onset of possessing those values that were important to me. Relationships and purpose. So thank you for being in time and what we're doing and beyond the technology, but really storytelling and connecting people. So I would before I wrap up, maybe you can highlight some of the things like you and your team have done to make the center more accessible. It's been pretty fascinating things with some financing,
Right.
and maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, so even before it was cool to drop the term diversity and inclusiveness, we've been doing it a long time before it became, I want to use the word trend because I really actually despise labels when people label things. But all of a sudden DEI became a thing. And all of a sudden now what's happening geopolitically is not a cool thing. But guess what? We haven't changed. We're exactly the same way we were 5 years ago. So when we're looking at furnishings and thinking about being all persons, if we're going to buy furniture, what do we have for those that suffer from severe anxiety or that may have a psychological aspect to their needs, where they need to be able to get out of the environment? And so we've got furniture where it looks like a phone booth, but you sit inside of it and your room goes quiet. You can be on the phone talking to somebody sitting in front of 2,000 people and no one would know you were sitting there. It is so quiet and calming and grounding. We have other meeting spaces, little booths that you can sit in where the world becomes quiet. Chairs that are partially quiet. They all pivot and rotate around so that you can face a wall if you don't want to face the noise of the room. And so just little simple things like that are strategically placed around the venue. Those who need them know what they're for. We don't need to point it out. We just need to make it available and be fluid. So we like to get into the science of meetings. We like to get into human factors. I love human factors. It's my favorite thing. And just behavior of people. But even sitting in a meeting room and having a special chair where I can make you lean forward or I can make you lean back, depending on how the chair sits. That's something in the psychology that we put into our meeting spaces. So there's many, many opportunities, but first and foremost, we need to be human. And secondly, do our staff know how to identify them and to engage safely with all walks of life so that we can make them have the most positive experience possible with it. And that's really what it's about. On our capital side of things now, since meeting with you, we always make sure we're engaging a conversation with you to look at our floor plans, look at everything, because as we learned, code is code. Code is not necessarily fully accessible. So those conversations are extremely important to us. And I've spoken to several different convention centers and said, what are you doing different? I said, who's your accessibility person reviewing your diagrams? Like, what? Like, who do you have reviewing your plans before you say go? It's just simple conversations like that. There's the ripple. What happens after that, we don't know. And I love introducing you to other venues. And afterwards, they go, oh my gosh, Nabil is so great. Oh, he's amazing. What a guy. And what a concept. So know that you've created positive influences.
Well, thank you for creating that opportunity to create reports because I think from something that I said about our relationship and report effect, you might not see it tomorrow, where you might sit down the road. So everywhere that I could talk about the future of the dance, about how people move around, about how people experience spaces beyond human connection and empathy. What do you hope that a space like this can play 5 years from now, 10 years from now, especially in the light of technology and AI driven? Sometimes we might be staying away from human connection.
I think there's a secret sauce right there. You just said it. The humans are wired for human connection. Full stop. If you want to see depression increase in human beings, have them isolated. If you want to see suicide rates go up, isolate. I believe you stop and look 50 years ago at what a convention center was, and look at what a convention center is today, and look what it will be 50 years from now. BMO Center just got built and opened. State of the art. All the bells and whistles. Built to last. What is in there? Big walls, escalators, exactly what we have. The human factors will never go away. Will the technology that hangs in the ceiling, perhaps the technology that greets you, that will change and that will update. Next time, 10 years from now, you're going to walk into a room and go, "Good morning, Nabil. How are you? Great to see you. Your Vente Starbucks is sitting off to your right, about 100 meters away. The order's been placed for you." That could be the future, where they're anticipating your needs, but you will want to connect with a human. And that is our secret sauce. We're not going away because humans need connection. Will be meeting differently? For sure. We're already seeing it. If you're over 20 minutes in a presentation, you've lost your audience. It used to be you sat in a room for an hour and a half, and now it's 20 minutes. We also have a generational change coming. By 2030, Gen Zs are now leaders. That's 4 years from now. Gen Zs are now stepping into management roles, senior management roles. That will change. How they work, how they think, how they talk, technology they use, the speed in which they operate. That's all going to change. So venues have to keep up for that, but they will still want to connect with each other. They want to connect in smaller groups, not larger groups. So there's many different aspects to it, but the one fundamental thing that will never change is we are wired for connectivity. That's what we are. We have to see, have to touch, have to feel, have to look eyeballs to eyeballs. Because AI sometimes will let us down.
Well, and I think CTCC will be that for decades to come. So thank you for being on with everything me and for that together. Thank you for everything you've been able to tell me and our life and such stories. So thank you for joining us. And I had a wonderful time with you.
Well, Nabil, I want to have the opportunity to thank you. And thank you for trusting us with your app in our space. Thank you for trusting us with your brand, with your reputation. But most of all, thank you for trusting us to engage with others to help them learn and understand. And that's a relationship, and this is a relationship that's built to last. And I look forward to those continued conversations. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, man.